Welcome to South East Today. I'm Natalie Graham.
And I'm Charlie Rose. Tonight's top stories. A huge rise in the number of people attacked by dogs. One victim tells us the experience was terrifying. The Kent man sent home from hospital 5 times before jumping to his death. Now his widow fights for better mental health care.
It is frightening that we are failing so many people, and it really is crucial that we hold the health service to account.
Also in tonight's programme, 2 lorries collide at a notorious Sussex black spot, narrowly missing the pumps at a petrol station. We're live at the scene with the details. Meet Edinburgh Festival's youngest ever director, the teenager who's made and starred in a film about his great-grandfather's war. And voulez-vous go to Brighton to see Mamma Mia, the ABBA musical set in Greece, comes to Sussex.
Good evening. There's been a huge rise in the number of people attacked by dogs in the southeast. New figures obtained by this programme show an increase of more than 60% in the past 3 years. And last year, there were more than 2,000 attacks on people in Kent, Sussex and Surrey.
Well, it comes as a Sussex woman tells this programme the moment that she was mauled by a dog was the most terrifying of her life. Kelly Stevens was savaged by a pit bull cross and needed extensive plastic surgery. Piers Hopkirk reports.
Figures obtained by this programme reveal there were more than 2,000 dog attacks in the southeast last year alone. Kerry Stevens from Eastbourne was left scarred for life after she was attacked by an American bulldog pit bull cross.
Initially it was fear and upset and pain and the physiological effects that you get from being attacked, and the shock. And then you go through the myriad of emotions, which then, leads to sort of real sadness, because I know I was scarred for life.
Keep back, please, keep back.
In the last 3 years, the number of reported dog attacks across the southeast has increased dramatically. In Sussex, the number of attacks increased by 373. In Kent, the past 3 years saw a rise of 286. And in Surrey, the number of attacks went up from 307 to 446. The Dangerous Dogs Act was introduced in 1991 in response to a spate of dog attacks. It banned certain breeds and made it a criminal offence to have a dog dangerously out of control. That legislation was updated in 2014 to include attacks that occur on private property as well as public places, a move that may have contributed to the rise.
Pre-2014, because you couldn't be charged under so many offences, once the law has changed, there's more offences you can be charged with, so you'd expect to see more offences coming to the attention of the police and the court.
In the last 18 months, Kent in particular has seen a series of high-profile attacks. Reggie Jarvis from Northfleet needed surgery after being bitten by a Japanese Akita. Stephen Morris was hospitalised after being mauled by a pack of bull mastiffs at his home in Westerham. While in April, Victoria Rezidnova was attacked by a pit bull-type dog in a children's play area in Chatham. All 3 victims of what appears to be a growing and worrying trend.
Well, Piers Hopkirk is here with me now. And Piers, why are we seeing this rise?
Well, Charlie, as you heard in my report there, it's in part down to the strengthening of the Dangerous Dogs Act. So now the police not only record attacks that happen in public, but also in private too. So, for instance, if you were bitten by your dog at home, the police would be duty-bound to record that. As well as that, hospitals and other agencies also pass on information on attacks to police. So you can start to see the number of sources of reports increasing. But as ever, in terms of why we see such a volume of attacks, the RSPCA say it is less down to the dogs and more down to the owners.
Piers, thank you very much.
The widow of a mentally ill man who killed himself in 2013 says she'll use the compensation she's been paid by the NHS to help others. Peter Franklin went to the A&E department in Maidstone 5 times and was sent home on each occasion before he jumped to his death from a bridge over the M20.
His wife Lynn fought a 2.5-year battle to get the money from the two health trusts involved in his care. She says too many mentally ill people are being failed by the system. Our report is from Bryony Williams.
After a 2.5-year legal battle and nearly 4 years to the day since Peter Franklin's suicide, healthcare professionals have admitted they could have done more to prevent his death.
You think that you're in a minority, you're actually finding that maybe you're not. And it is frightening that we are failing so many people. And it really is crucial that we hold the health service to account.
Mr Franklin had suffered with depression for years, and on August the 19th, 2013, he desperately needed help. He had visited Maidstone Hospital and Priority House 6 times on the day he died. He was discharged and attempted to kill himself, but his taxi driver managed to stop him. Peter Franklin was then taken back to the hospital, where it was said a proper assessment wasn't carried out. He took his own life later that night.
If mental illness were taken as seriously as physical illness, if he had come to the hospital having pains in his chest, they would not have turned him away. It would have been gross negligence.
Since Peter Franklin's death, Maidstone and Tunbridge Wells NHS Trust says it's actively fostered closer working relationships with its partner healthcare organisations, while Kent and Medway NHS and Social Care Partnership says it's worked to improve its management of mental health patients. But for his family, the pain will never go away.
I had a conversation with my sister the other day and I said, you guys are so lucky you've had your dad, walk you down the aisle, you've had your dad see your children, his grandchildren, be born and grow up a little bit. I said, that's all been ripped away from me. I don't have that option. That kills me.
The father of 4's family will continue to work hard so what happened to Peter Franklin won't happen to anyone else.
I want to see that anyone who presents to A&E is able to get some support, so that there is a psychiatric liaison officer available at every single A&E.
Do you feel if that would have been in place that he would still be here today?
Yes. Yes, he would.
The £20,000 settlement is not the end of the fight for Lynn Franklin.
Bryony's outside Maidstone Hospital now, where Mr Franklin took himself several times before his death. And Bryony, his widow's not convinced yet, is she, that enough has been done?
Well, firstly, I think it's fair to say that Lynn feels extremely let down by the NHS. Also annoyed that the trusts involved took 2.5 years to come to the conclusion that they had any responsibility in the role they played in Peter's death. The family are worried that in that time, other people with mental health issues may not have got the treatment that they needed. Ultimately, she wants to see more mental health specialists in hospitals so that no one else is let down by the system.
Bryony, thank you.
In a moment, on the eve of A-level results day, why one Sussex college is expecting a big fall in the number of students going on to university.
There were long delays on the roads in East Sussex this morning after a major crash at one of the South East's most notorious accident black spots. 2 lorries collided during the rush hour on the A27 at Selmerston and narrowly missed crashing into a petrol station.
It comes just days before the results of a consultation to suggest improvements on the stretch of road between Lewes and Polegate. There have been 13 fatalities there in the past 16 years. Yvette Austin reports.
The aftermath of the crash. This was the lorry worst affected. It narrowly avoided a far worse scenario.
I was behind the counter around about 10 minutes past 6 and I heard an almighty crash and looked out the window and there were 2 lorries collided just by the forecourt, about 3 feet away from one of my pumps.
This stretch of the A27 is notorious for accidents. Since 2001, there have been at least 41 crashes on this road between Lewes and Polegate, killing 13 people. In 2004, 3 people were killed when 2 vehicles crashed and burst into flames. Just 2 years later, an 8-year-old girl was killed on the black spot between Middle Farm and Glynde. 5 were seriously injured. And just a year after that, 2 students were killed in an accident near Selmerston.
As you can see, these big trunkers going past. It's quite a narrow corner and they're only missing each other by an inch or so. And most of the time they're not doing 40 either. It's quite a quick road.
For decades there have been calls for improvements or a new road, and now finally a number of options have been drawn up and £75 million earmarked for the work. One option would be to create a bypass to the far south of Selmerston, or a bypass much closer to the village. Another option would be to widen the existing route and improve its junctions. But the schemes are considered small, and local MPs and business leaders want more. A whole new road north of the A27 between Lewes and Polegate.
Until we actually have some serious investment from this government and from the Department of Transport, they are simply putting an elastoplast in the problem. So I think they need to do it properly. Fix it, don't bodge it.
But whatever is decided upon, the improvements are some years away.
Well, let's cross to Selmerston and speak to Yvette. And Yvette, many people will be wondering when they might see changes to the road there.
Well, yes, indeed, but it's not going to be quick, I'm afraid. Highways England carried out a public consultation last year, and we're waiting to hear the results of that. Preferred route will be announced any day now, but then there'll be another full public consultation, a more detailed one into that preferred route. Work is expected to start in 2020 with completion in 2022. But as for Stephen Lloyd and the campaign for a whole new road north of here, well, there's no word of that.
Yvette, thank you.
An investigation has begun into a huge fire on an industrial estate in Hailsham. Around 30 firefighters were sent to the blaze at Diplock's Way, which started at 9 o'clock last night. There are no reports of any injuries, although fire crews are still at the scene this evening. At its height, people were asked to avoid the area and nearby residents were advised to keep their windows closed.
A memorial has been designed for the 11 men killed when a Hunter Hawker jet crashed onto the A27 near Shoreham almost 2 years ago. Two artists from Portslade have unveiled their design for a tribute to the victims, their families and the emergency services who responded to the disaster. The 5 sculptures, which will sit on the banks of the River Ada, have been funded by local businesses and public bodies.
A woman has appeared in court charged with killing a mother of 3 in Battle. 34-year-old Naomi Oxley from St Leonard's is accused of causing death by dangerous driving. Well, Helen Catt is in Battle for us now. And Helen, what happened in court today?
Well, Hastings Magistrates Court heard that on the 19th of March, 37-year-old Debbie Masters was out taking a Sunday walk here in the centre of Battle with her family, pushing her 7-month-old son in a pram when she was hit by a car and pinned against a cafe wall. Mrs Masters' husband Ian suffered severe head injuries. Mrs Masters herself died in hospital following the collision. Naomi Oxley has been charged with 1 count of causing death by dangerous driving and 1 count of causing serious injury by dangerous driving. She's due to appear at Lewes Crown Court on the 7th of September.
Helen, thank you.
The family of a cyclist killed in a village near Canterbury are going to meet with the government to discuss the action taken by Kent Police investigating his death. Richard Jordan's bike was hit by a car in Old Wives Lees 6 years ago, but an inquest ruled that his death was an accident.
The Independent Police Complaints Commission told Kent Police to reinvestigate how officers dealt with the incident, but a hearing has now decided that they didn't act inappropriately. Mr Jordan's family have told our reporter Lauren Moss they still need answers.
Richard Jordan was out for his usual morning bike ride when he was in a collision with a car just minutes from home. This is the 999 call made by the passenger of the vehicle.
OK, we were driving up. We were on the right side of the road and a man has come flying down on his bike. We've swerved to miss him, but he's come off. He's an older man and he's bleeding profusely from the nose and mouth and he's unconscious.
There was never a suggestion the driver of the car was at fault, and an inquest ruled Mr Jordan's death was an accident. But his family say Kent Police didn't speak to those involved quickly enough, examine the car or treat other evidence properly.
I feel if they'd done their work, basic policing from the word go, we wouldn't be here now. We would have known what had happened. But because of them, we've been through 6 years of living hell, and we will never, ever know what happened to him.
Richard Jordan cycled the same route down this road nearly every day for 17 years. When he crashed, he suffered a head injury and was taken to hospital, where he later died. Kent Police weren't notified until the next day, by which point many other vehicles had come down here, making any investigation difficult. The family's complaints were upheld by the police watchdog, which ordered the force to reinvestigate itself. But a hearing has now found the officers involved have no case to answer.
It's quite incredible having seen the outcome from the misconduct meeting, and that the officers have basically been given a clean slate, i.e. you've done nothing wrong, when it's quite apparent from the PSD reports and the IPCC reports all saying the same thing, that they've done an awful lot wrong.
I extend our condolences to Mr Jordan's family, and the force have previously offered an apology around some of the circumstances of that. Clearly there are ways in which we've been able to improve the way in which we would respond to an incident such as this, and of course we take that extremely seriously.
The family will meet with MP Damien Green later this month to discuss getting the case looked at again. They say they still have hope that one day they could get some answers. Laura Moss, BBC South East Today, near Canterbury.
Now tomorrow, thousands of students will be ripping open envelopes to reveal their A-level results and making decisions about their futures. But recent figures suggest that for the first time since tuition fees went up, university applications are expected to fall.
Yes, one of the biggest colleges in Sussex says it's expecting to see a fall of 15% in the number of its students going on to university in September. But the organisation which oversees university offers says it's not too late to get a place.
Absolutely do not panic. We do need to remember it's a day when hundreds of thousands of students will get the results and they will be celebrating, and I would like to congratulate all of those. But if you don't get the results, then don't panic. Just take time, think, contact a university or college, think about what your options are. At 3 o'clock you can add a clearing choice.
Let's talk to our education correspondent, Bryony Mackenzie, who's outside Sussex Coast College now. So, Bryony, why the drop in university applications that expected?
Well, Natalie, I think there's a few key things that have all happened around the same time. Firstly, there's a smaller student cohort. Secondly, tuition fees, they've gone up by £250 from this September, and those student loans as well. They'll be subject to an increase in interest rates. Now, this college is interesting because they say, yeah, fewer students probably going to university, but more studying higher apprenticeships. And we know today that big announcement about record employment levels, perhaps students wanting to get on that jobs ladder a bit earlier on. Now, I've spoken to our universities in the South East, and they say they're not worried. Perhaps Brexit might have an impact at some point, but they're fairly confident that all their places will be filled by the end of clearing.
And Bryony, of course, this is the first year we're going to see the results from significant changes made to the A-levels.
Yes, Natalie, the marriage between AS and A-levels is over. They've consciously uncoupled, if you like, and that means all the weight is now on the exams at the end of the A-levels after 2 years, a bit how it was around 20 years ago. I think there's a feeling that that could put more pressure on students from disadvantaged areas who may benefit from that AS level system, but we won't expect a big fluctuation in results tomorrow. We'll be here, of course, filming all those students opening their envelopes, hoping they get the results that they want.
A lot of nervous people tonight, Bryony. Thank you. And as the A-level results come through tomorrow, then we'd like to hear from you. Send us your stories, pictures and videos by tweeting us, posting on Facebook or by sending us an email.
Now it's almost 10 to 7. This is our top story tonight. There's been a huge rise in the number of people attacked by dogs in the southeast. New figures obtained by this programme show more than 2,000 people were attacked in Kent, Sussex and Surrey last year.
Also in tonight's programme, the Super Trooper musical set on a Greek island comes to Sussex for the summer.
And it's been a warm, dry, sunny summer's day, but more rain is on the way for tonight. I'll have the details in the forecast a little later in the programme.
Now, Elliot Hasler from Brighton has just turned 17 and is already making a name for himself in the film industry. Over the past 3.5 years, he's written, filmed, directed and starred in a movie inspired by the story of his great-grandfather, who was a prisoner of war in Italy. Now, Elliot's taken his film to Edinburgh, where he's the youngest ever director to feature in the festival. Chrissy Reedy has tonight's special report.
This morning, the British ambassador in Berlin handed the German government a final note.
Set during World War II, Charlie's Letters tells the true story of an escaped prisoner of war on the run in Italy. With the help of his grandfather, Elliot was just 14 when he began making the film about Charlie, his great-grandfather.
I've sort of grown up hearing the story from like my granddad and my mum and stuff. And then when I was about 10, they did a school project at my primary school where we made like a Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe film. So yeah, it was just sort of after that I'd sort of been making films and things, and then it kind of evolved, and then at 14 I just decided to make the film.
Completely self-taught, Elliot wrote and directed the 1 hour 20 feature movie, and it's hard to believe it was filmed on his SLR camera and iPhone.
Trying to do the military stuff, I'd say that was one of the biggest challenges, because we had such a small budget. It was hard to get all these vehicles and all these different actors and stuff on set, and period uniforms and everything. So yeah, that would probably have been the biggest challenge.
Fascists kill my family. La pagheranno.
I'm trying to get back to mine.
The film depicts the struggles of his great-grandfather as he tries to make it back home to his wife and young child in war-torn Brighton.
One of the interesting facts is he never picked his medals up. He didn't want to pick his medals up, so when he came back from war, he just wanted to settle down into family life.
With such positive response from audiences at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival, Elliot hopes he can share his great-grandfather's story with many more. Chrissy Reedy, BBC South East Today.
Now, taking ABBA's greatest hits and putting them on a Greek island turned out to be a genius move for the team behind Mamma Mia. The musical is one of the longest running in the West End, and the film, starring Meryl Streep, was a huge box office hit.
Yes, and for the next 3 weeks, the touring version is in Brighton. It tells, of course, the story of a young woman trying to find out which of her mother's ex-boyfriends is her father. Our reporter Fiona Irving is outside the Brighton Centre now, and of course, Brighton, Fiona, is the perfect setting for this musical, isn't it?
It is, Natalie, yes. Singing ABBA songs on the beach in the sun. It's just like any other day, really, in Brighton. But Mamma Mia is an absolutely massive production. 60 million people have seen the show worldwide. It's grossed more than £2 billion at the box office. There's dancing, there's singing, there's drama, there's romance, there's tension, and of course, they're the songs from ABBA.
The sun, the sea, the songs. Mamma Mia, the musical, in all its sequined glory, has arrived in Brighton.
At the Brighton Centre, there's a little bit of space at the side of the seats, and there were people literally up dancing last night in that space, which we've not had at any other theatre, because there's kind of just like normal theatres, but this is great. It gives people that opportunity to absolutely go for it.
What I love about Brighton and what I think Brighton brings is the beach. It's a nice feel to the Mamma Mia musical. We're on a beach. The weather at the moment is nice. And it's summer. What else could you want? Yeah, it's great. Summer.
It's a great time to go and see Mamma Mia.
Yeah, it is. Sunniest of musicals comes to Brighton.
Mamma Mia tells the story of a daughter's quest to discover her father's identity. A smash in the West End and a box office hit, it's a much-loved musical with something for every generation.
This is a trunk of Donna's past that they find in the bedroom scene. Rosie and Tanya find it, and they find a picture of themselves. Oh, they were so young. There's so many different twists and turns, and it's really funny. Like the Dynamos, Gillian and Emma and Helen, they just... I keep saying Helen like that's Helen, and Helen.
From Aberdeen to Brighton, it's an exhausting 18-month tour. But for one actor from Tunbridge Wells, she had a dream.
If my 10-year-old self was looking at what I'm doing right now, they'd literally be saying, no, you won't be doing that. You won't be doing it. You know, it's one of those things you've just got to go, okay, no, it's happening. Like, just embrace it and enjoy it and get family and friends in to watch. And it's just, yeah, it's very overwhelming. but it's really cool.
And Brighton says, thank you for the music.
Of course, ABBA has a special place here in Brighton. They won the Eurovision Song Contest in the city in 1974 with the song Waterloo, which of course catapulted them to fame. I'm told there are still tickets available for the 3 weeks that Mamma Mia is here, and I'm told that if you go and see the show, you're guaranteed to come out humming an ABBA tune. So what's it going to be, Natalie? Super Trooper? Dancing Queen?
Oh, both of those I've been humming today, Fiona, thank you. Of course, what we really need to go and see that show in Brighton is the Greek island weather, but there's not much chance of that, is there, Rachel?
Well, not much chance tonight, but actually over the next couple of days the sunshine will be returning, and of course lots of sunshine around earlier. By the afternoon, temperatures again feeling warm for the time of year, creeping up to 24 degrees. Average for the time of year is around 22. Now, we're not going to be staying dry as we go into tonight. Initially, yes, we've got clearer skies, but eventually we see more cloud, and towards the early hours of tomorrow morning we start to see this patchy and at times heavy rain. The winds pick up and temperatures as a result only dropping to around 15 or 16 degrees, and that gives us quite a mild but a damp start to the day for Thursday, and slowly that front clears during the morning, and behind it by the afternoon eventually we start to see some sunshine around. Still one or two quite heavy scattered showers, but temperatures still creeping up once again, 22 or 23 degrees. Now it's breezy tomorrow, those southwesterly winds picking up along the south coast, but the average wind speed about 10 to 15 miles per hour. So Thursday over into Friday, another band of rain eventually, and that again means temperatures hold up, only dropping to around 14 or 15 degrees. Now what you're going to notice for Friday is that it's breezy, but actually it should be a drier picture than Thursday. So as we head through the day, lots of sunshine around, and by the afternoon, really quite similar temperatures to today, perhaps reaching highs of around 22 or 23 degrees. Always feeling a bit cooler along the coast where we've got some gale force gusts. Now, as we look towards the weekend, for us in the southeast corner, actually we look to be staying mostly dry. We'll have some sunshine around, it stays breezy, and that's ahead of rain that eventually we're going to be seeing as we go from Sunday over into Monday. So this is the picture on the pressure charts. Eventually, as we head through the day for Friday, we're going to be seeing a bit more cloud around. It's breezy. For Saturday, the winds ease off a touch, and again by the afternoon, temperatures reaching highs of 21 or 22 degrees. We start Sunday dry. Eventually, though, we're expecting to see really heavy rain over into Monday. That's slow to clear, giving us a very damp, wet, windy start to the new week. Before we get there, yes, some rain around tonight, but sunshine eventually tomorrow afternoon. Looking towards the weekend, mostly dry until Sunday evening.
It's a rather mixed bag, isn't
totally
it? Thanks very much, Rachel. Well, that's it from me this evening. I'll be back at 6:30 tomorrow.
I'll be back with the 8 p.m. bulletin and, of course, the 10:25 late programme. Enjoy your evening. Bye-bye for now.
Bye-bye.